Here's the last one. Verse 15. When he begets a son, there is nothing in his hand. As he came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return, to go as he came. He shall take nothing from this labor which he may carry away in his hand. The more stuff we hold on to and clutch to, the more stuff we have to leave behind. The Wesley brothers, John and Charles Wesley, they were very famous in 18th century England. They wrote, Charles wrote 6,000 hymns. Amazing. The whole Methodist revival, and tens of thousands were saved. They went on visitation all over, visiting these converts. One of them was a lord. That means that he had an estate and a title, and he was a believer. And they went to visit this guy, and they came up on their horses and parked, and they invited him in a Downton Abbey kind of house, and they had dinner. And the man said, "Can you stay a couple days?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "What for?" He said, "I want to show you my estate." They said, "A couple days?" He said, "Yeah." So the next morning at breakfast, they got up, and the servants packed a lunch, and they rode all day long till noon. And they only rode east, and they rode all along and went along the perimeter of this vast place, and they stopped and had lunch, and then they rode all afternoon long and came back to the house for supper. And they had supper, and he said, "Tomorrow morning." He said, "What you've seen is," he said, you saw our place on kind of a circle going all the way around from east to west. Now," he says, "I'm going to take you on another one and take you on the other half of my estate." So they did the same thing, packed the lunch, stopped halfway through, came back for supper. When they got done, he said, "I don't want you to say anything until the second day." And Charles Wesley actually said this. He was there sitting at the table, and he said to the man, "Yes." And the man said, "Well, what do you think of my estate?" And Wesley looked at him and said, "I think you're going to have a hard time leaving this behind. Because the more we have, the harder it is to leave behind." And do you know what most people do? If this is heaven and this is earth, they get saved and they know they're going to heaven. But if they don't take their treasures and lay them up in heaven so their heart will be there, their treasures are still here and they back toward heaven like this. And it's kind of like a tractor beam, Star Wars. God's pulling them toward heaven, but they're going like this. And I saw that when I was doing these funerals. Do you know why? People don't want to talk about death. I was a senior adult pastor at Grace Community Church. I had 864 people, median age 70-some years old. I passed out a piece of paper, said, "Write your testimony down, your favorite hymn, and all that for your funeral, because I'm the senior adult pastor. I'm going to probably do half of your funerals." And I did, one a week. It was just boom, 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 boom. They were going to heaven. Do you know what the class said? Median age 76.4. We're not that old. Nobody thinks they're old enough. And so we go through life tractor beamed by the Lord, and our treasures are here. And death is loss for most, even believers. They think of death as loss. And they don't want to talk about death. You know what death is? It's like a cruise. It's like getting on the gangplank, going to the greatest day of our life. That's what Jesus said it was. But that's only if your treasure is there. So, what is spiritual blindness? Now, turn to 1 Timothy. We don't want to stay in Ecclesiastes. It's a little dark there. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. And this is what Paul told us. Come on. Pages sticking. Here we go. 1 Timothy 6, starting in verse 17. "Command those who are rich." Let's define some words. In the ancient world, there were three classes of people. There were the beggars. They were the poor, the destitute beggars. That's the word from Matthew 5 from the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the poor in spirit. It's a beggar. Who is a beggar? A beggar is someone who started the day with absolutely nothing, and they would sit there, they were handicapped or whatever, with their cup or their hands out saying, "Give me something." And if they got something, they were able to eat a little morsel that would carry them through, and perhaps the next day they would get something else. They had nothing but what was given them in the instant for the moment, and they consumed it right then. Those were the poor. Then there were normal people. Normal people woke up in the morning. They had a home, a place they stayed. They had enough food for that day's meals. They went out with a lunch, and they worked all day, and they earned enough, much like much of the world. Our daughters work and live in Honduras, and most working people at their hospital are paid in cash every day. They take the cash, they buy eggs on the way home, they buy some tortillas and whatever, and they eat that, and they have enough so they can make it over the weekend, but they come back on Monday, and they work again. They get enough to get more, and they save some of the tortillas and eggs so they can have, and beans for the weekend. Those are working people. That was the majority of the peasant people. Then there were those that had something stored up so that they didn't have to work every day. They could go for a period of time with goods laid up, like in the storehouse. Those were the rich. Now, did you know, with my wedding ring here, my wonderful plastic Timex watch, and if you throw in my pocket distractor that I keep right here, I am wealthier standing in front of you than about 90-some% of the world. You understand that? Did you know that everybody in this room, I would assume, is wealthy? I don't think that you're begging for today's food, and I doubt that you would not have anything tomorrow. You have stuff stored up. Most of us have so much stored up. In the context of the Bible, it's not what it means to me. When Paul wrote this, command those who are rich, he was talking to us kind of people that own things, that have possessions, who are rich in this present age, not to be haughty. Well, that's dangerous. Did you know Bonnie and I were upgraded once to first class? Have you ever flown in first class? They have a little scented warm cloth as you walk in to wipe your face. Then you sit down, and they're not fanning you, but they're giving you, do you want orange juice? Do you want a little Perrier in your orange juice? Warm the nuts. They have these warm nuts. They have a little cart where they bake cookies in the aisle for you. It's overpowering, the smell. And they'll make you a hot fudge sundae. It's like Cold Stone. Up front, you wonder what they're doing up there. You ought to look under the curtain. It's really fun up there. So we got upgraded once. They put us up there just because there was no room, and I fly so much. And so I'm sitting up there, and all of a sudden the curtain started moving, and one of those people from the back came through the curtain to our bathroom. Up front, they have flowers in the bathroom. They have flowers. They have cologne up there. If you have hair, they have stuff to put on your hair. It's really fun up front. And it was my first time. I was 10 minutes into being up front, and the curtain moves, and one of them, I went to Bonnie, I said, they're using our bathroom. There probably won't be enough cologne left for me. We get haughty so quick. We do. Don't get haughty. Look at this, but it gets worse. Command those, verse 17, who are rich in this present age, not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God. See, the problem with riches is we begin to trust in them, not in God. That's why he wanted to keep us on this, give me this day, my daily bread. Jesus wants us to need him. What did we just sing? I need you, oh, I need you, what? Every hour I need you. You're my, one defense, all that. That's what this is about. Keep reading. In the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy. So there's nothing wrong with being rich. It's just grasping for it and wanting it and thinking it's yours. Let them do good, verse 18, that they may be rich in good works, ready to give. So the more you have, the more you want to give away. Because when you give away, it lasts forever. When you hold on to it, you lose it. It pierces you through with many troubles. Remember, that's what it says. Willing to share. In other words, if I was Ken Taylor or Eugene Peterson doing one of those paraphrases, I would say, give until it hurts. You really haven't given until it hurts. Most people give out of this massive abundance. We're supposed to give sacrificially, where it costs us something. But look at this. Storing up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life. What is spiritual blindness? Spiritual blindness is when I don't need God, when I don't trust God, when I operate in my resources, in my strength. In fact, Jesus put it this way in John 15, apart from me you can do nothing. Think about apart from me you can do, comma, and it amounts to nothing. See, understand what he's saying. Apart from me, you can do a lot. But apart from me, it's nothing.